We are now in Unit 8, and we're going to be talking about Latin America. So many of you guys in here are Latin American experts, and I can't wait to hear your opinions, your anecdotes, your experiences throughout this unit. One region, though, that I feel like we don't have as many primary sources, at least in my particular world geography classes, is South America. So some of my favorite people have stepped up to be additional primary sources. They know the South American region as well as anybody could. They are from Colombia and are going to be giving you more information and like firsthand perspectives about Colombia specifically, as well as how it compares to the rest of Latin America. Give them your undivided attention because not only are they cool and interesting, but they really know what they're talking about. Without further ado, I will allow them to introduce themselves. So enjoy what they have to say. Don't be too intimidated by my video editing skills. And Colombians, thank you so much for your help.
Greetings. I'm here to answer the questions about Colombia.
Hi, my name is Sofia and I'm from Colombia and I'm here to answer some questions about my country.
Hey, okay, my name's Pamela and I'm also not really your typical Colombian because I'm only half Colombian. My mom's Colombian, but I do still want to share my thoughts about it because, well, I thought it was really cool to help out one of my favorite teachers. Anyway, so yeah, as I always say, my mom's the Colombian one. So I was born in one of the cities called Manizales. I'm here right now. I want to show you guys. Check out those mountains.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel Correa Sanchez and I'm from Medellin, Colombia. I had the pleasure of being Kaylin Doral's student a couple years ago in the Columbus School, and she asked us to share with you guys a couple things about the country.
Hi everybody, hi Ms. Doyle. I'm Pedro, I used to be one of Ms. Doyle's students, and I'm here to talk about Colombia.
Hi, my name is Andrea and I'm from Colombia. I am one of Ms. Doyle's former students, and I just wanted to share a little bit about where I'm from.
Hi, my name is Pedro Arango, and today I'm going to answer some questions for Helen Doyle's geography class.
Hi, my name is Camila, and I'm from Colombia, and I'm going to answer some questions.
Okay, so hi, Miss.
Hi, my name is Tomas Diaz, and I'm from Medellin, Colombia.
Hi, my name is Antonia. I'm from Medellin, Colombia, and I'm gonna answer some questions about my country.
My favorite part about Colombia is the views, the food, and the people.
I love most about Colombia is like the weather, the landscapes, not to mention the people. People here, I don't know, they're so warm, they're so helpful, they're so wonderful. It's just also really important to point out that it's not like everyone here is like that. Like a lot of other countries, Colombia is very multi-regional. There's people that live more up north that are maybe a bit more, I don't know, industrial centered. They're a little bit more cold. Maybe Bogota, Bogota is like my main example. But I'm speaking from the point of view of Medellin and Manizales. And one of the things that has always struck me the most is how kind people are how, like, they always want to help you out. Like, they're super helpful, they're super happy.
The favorite part about Colombia is the people here. Colombians are very nice, they're very enthusiastic, and they show their happiness in their daily lives. Additionally, I love the weather here. We have great weather throughout the year, and although it varies depending on the region, overall we have amazing climates and different types of ecosystems all around the country.
In general, like, there's a lot of diversity in culture, accents, people.
What is my favorite place in Colombia? Pretty hard because Colombia has so many different environments that it's difficult to pick one. But probably El Peñol Guatapé is one that really makes me happy when I go there because it's this giant dam with perfect water that you can surf in. I don't know, it's really nice. I really love it. And it's pretty good climate all year long, so I love going there.
The thing I like most about Colombia, what makes it different from other countries? Well, the closeness you have with unknown people is really cool. Like, for example, with the janitor or the cafeteria lady, like, you always talk to them, you always create a connection. It's not just like, I want a coffee, they give it to you and you just go on your way. Like, there is a level of closeness that you develop with everyone, and that prevents you from ever feeling alone. and I really love that about Colombia.
The favorite thing about it of my culture is just like people here are very kind, they're very welcoming, they're very
One of my
giving.
favorite things about Colombia is the people, because I think we're really nice people, we're really welcoming. So another thing I really like about Colombia is our landscapes. Like, everything's so beautiful here, like it's wonderful.
I'm going to first start about my favorite thing about Colombia, that it's how every region has its own accent, typical dishes and flavors, and a specific way of contributing to the economy. So you have some do cattle, some do fishing, some do coffee, cacao, etc. And what I mostly love is that at the end of the day, all of the regions come together as a country to celebrate by heart the wins of our football team.
Has to be its people. We're full of joy, full of emotion, and don't mind sharing a smile with the world. And that's something I really miss from back home.
Beyond the incredible biodiversity, spectacular traditions, one of the things I value the most about Colombia is the importance we give to our family. I meet with my extended family once, twice, or even 3 times a week to share meals. The empanadas, by the way, are the best meal. And this, I believe, is what makes Colombia a really, really special culture.
My favorite part about Colombia is the mountains. I go to school right now in Colorado, and not even these mountains top the mountains in Colombia. I just think that, you know, they're just so green. It's just like forest everywhere, and I really, really love that, and they're everywhere. And definitely their coffee. We're a big coffee country, and I'm a big coffee girl, and in my humble opinion, Colombian coffee is the best coffee that there is. That's just my truth.
The thing about Colombia, aside from the people, which I think are awesome, I would have to say it's definitely the landscapes and the scenery and just, yeah, I think there's just so much to always see. It's so beautiful. I think there's so much diversity in the landscapes here within the country. We have sea and we have beach towns, but we also have mountains and hiking trails, and we have, metropolitan cities, but then we also have really rural towns. And I just think there's always something beautiful to look at. Just get in your car and you drive, and you'll always, always find something picture-worthy.
My favorite part about Colombia is that we're a really friendly country. Our culture is really embracing and friendly, and I really love that.
The biggest misconception of Colombia, and I think everyone's gonna say the same thing, really. There's just a lot of misconceptions, but there's one really big one, and is that everyone thinks that Colombia is like it was in the Pablo Escobar days. People think that it's like it's shown on TV and in movies about drugs and cocaine and weed, and there's bad people everywhere, but that chapter of Colombia was over 30 years ago, and Colombia is way more peaceful and way more organized than it was, and it's like a normal country now. People don't realize that, and they just stick with the Pablo Escobar idea of it. So
I think that like the most common misconception about Colombia, it's violence. And I mean, throughout its history, it has a very negative perspective in the world. I mean, if we look back in the 80s, it was one of the most dangerous countries. I mean, Medellin, where I come from, where I live, was named once the most dangerous city in the world. And I mean, the thing and the beautiful thing about Colombia is that throughout the years, we have changed that. It's like we are more than violence. We have a beautiful culture. Like we have like we're the second most biodiverse country in the world. We have so many wonderful things, but really cool to see a lot of people when they come here and they had a different perspective of Colombia, and when they go back to their country, they have a other new perspective of Colombia.
The country is still viewed as very corrupted, as full of drugs and guerrillas and a lot of like conflict in general, which I can't say isn't true, because despite our past and despite several corrupted governments, it's not something that we pull out first when we try to represent ourselves outside the country. I feel like it's something that we've come to handle, and we're like, yeah, this happened, yeah, this was our past, but now this is what we can be too. We're also very innovative, we're creative, we wanna get better, and we have. And I feel like lately Colombia has come across as a country that people want to go see now, you know? Not just for its past, because it's not what you see in all those TV shows about narcos or drugs or whatever, and that's the stressful part. I mean, I go out of the country and I say I'm from Colombia, and they're like, hey, you must know Pablo Escobar. I'm like, yeah, like I'm his sister, like as if everyone in Colombia was like related to that guy. Of course not. We're a bunch more than that, and I feel like that's being clear. It's not just that. It's
one common misconception about Colombia is like whenever I go to the US, for example, like I say, oh, I'm from Colombia, and people will be like, oh, Pablo Escobar, drugs, blah, blah, blah. And that's something that I think all Colombians, we find it really annoying. Like, we're like, yeah, whatever. But, you know, like, yes, that's part of our history, but it's not something that defines
I think a misconception about Colombia is how dangerous it is. Of course, Latin America is not as developed as other parts of the world, but at the same time, I think people are reluctant to go sometimes because of how dangerous it is. But I think if you do things correctly, it can be perfectly safe as any country. I think, and also, you know, going to the right parts. Every city has its dangerous places. Every country has its dangerous places. You just have to know where to go.
A common misconception about Colombia is that we live in towns and in underdeveloped cities. However, that is not true. There are towns in Colombia, but we also live in normal cities like in everywhere in the world.
Misconception of the country definitely has to be its connection with drugs. I assume some of you guys have watched Narcos, but please do not take that as a representation of the country. We are getting rid of that history, getting rid of that past, and turning it into bettering our community.
I think that just like there's only like a jungle down here, that we only have jungle, that there's like no cities, no civilization, when in reality we have cities, we have internet, running water.
Misconception about Colombia. This might be kind of obvious for anyone who knows anything about, you know, Pablo Escobar and the war on drugs, but that a lot of people think that Colombia is like a cocaine country, and even though our history has been tainted by drugs, I think that we are at a point in time where it no longer defines our country, and our people don't want to be defined by either. I'm very proud of the fact that, you know, our country and our people have been able to kind of like redefine what it means to be Colombian, redefine what Colombia is, and like, I don't know, we've been sending out the message more and more to people that's like, hey, Colombia is not what the media has been telling you it is. And we've, you know, made it more innovative. Medellin, my city where I'm from, got nominated one of the most innovative cities in the world. And we're trying to like show the world that we're more than our history. And I'm really proud of that. How I explain it to literally all of my US friends is that in every single part of the world, there are areas that are more dangerous than others, and you know not to walk alone there at night. And that's just the same for Colombia. There's just some cities or some counties or some places in cities that are more dangerous than others. And that's just the case for literally every part of the world.
I remember when I had a pen pal in the States, it was like, hey, how do you get to school? Do you guys live in trees? Like, do you even know what Netflix is? And it's like, that is such, it's wild to think that people like believe that we're still living like in the middle of like a forest or something, which is totally not the case.
A common misconception that many of you have. I know a lot of other students are going to talk about Pablo Escobar, but I want to talk that every time I've mentioned to anyone that I'm from Colombia, they all think like, how do you come here? Do you have airplanes? Or like, they actually believe that we live in a jungle or in poor villages when we actually have really big cities with beautiful buildings and architectures.
common misconception of Colombia is that it's very dangerous. It was very dangerous in the past times, but recently it's like if you know the area and if you know how to get around, it's pretty safe and you can have a very fun time without being compromised.
I think that a common misconception about Colombia is heavily influenced by Netflix shows like Narcos, where people think that everybody is related to drug dealers and
I guess
violence.
a common misconception about Colombia, I would definitely have to say it's the single and outdated narrative about drugs and crime and, literally the only name that people seem to be able to associate with Colombia is Pablo Escobar. They think that's like the single person that's ever done anything from our country. And, I think they're stuck in that narrative and they think that it's still the same and that it looks the same. And yeah.
And music also, because music I think represents what we have lived in history. And if you listen to like music from the Pacific here in Colombia, or you can see a lot of influences from other places, and that is really pretty because you can see how our culture is constructed by many other cultures, and that is still like dominant.
The music probably really differs here. Shakira, it's really huge. J Balvin, Maluma.
Music, which I just absolutely love. The dances, it's very cultural and very ingrained. And there's so many genres. And each region in Colombia has its own dances and its own music genres, its own songs, and they're all very artistic, very ingrained in the culture and very old. They all come, most of them come from the mixing of cultures that happened during the colonial period. So there's African influences, European as well as natives, and that makes them so great.
Probably most of you know some Colombian artists, be it Shakira or Maluma. We have, and I think Colombian music in general is very like warm, very strong. You can sense that like happiness or the enthusiasm.
Singers like Shakira, Juanes, J Balvin,
Things that I
Maluma.
love. So I don't know if any of y'all have heard of cumbia. That's like a type of music and dance. It originated in Colombia and it's very, very popular. But another form of music that's also really popular that most of y'all have probably heard of is reggaeton. Like, I don't know if y'all have heard of J Balvin, but he's from Colombia. Really cool dude. Really cool music.
Traditional music like vallenato and salsa and merengue, which are like traditional folk music. And we have reggaeton, which was originated in Puerto Rico, but we adapted it, and many artists here use it, like J Balvin or Maluma.
I think that in regards to music, like most of Latin America, we listen to a lot of reggaeton, and that is the most popular genre.
Our food is delicious.
Food. We are huge coffee makers, and also a lot of people don't know it. I know this is not related to food, but we actually ship a lot of flowers to all of the world, and that is really cool.
We have a very special plate called bandeja paisa that is very popular and it's very nice. We also have a lot of soups and different things. More in the south of South America, they have like more meat stuff and things like that, and up top, like in Central America, they have more spicy
Bandeja paisa is like our traditional dish, and it's like beans, rice, fried plantains. Some people like to put an egg in there. Not my thing, but it's so
We are big and so proud of our gastronomy. So, for example, our national dishes vary for every region. In Bogota, it's ajiaco. In Antioquia, it's la bandeja paisa. And in Barranquilla, is la cazuela de mariscos. And they're delicious flavors and delicious typical dishes.
Amazing food. And I'd say this also goes into more of our regional categories, because each region has its own traditional dishes, which every region is very proud of. And although there's some that we can group as being mostly Colombian, I mean, like on a national level, most of our dishes, most of our food, it's very local. But yeah, our food's amazing. If you ever have the chance to try a bandeja paisa, it's great.
So good. It's like chef kiss. I think the frijoles, la ajiaco, el sancocho, Like everything's so
All kinds
good.
of foods. Again, the regions each have their different ones, and I would definitely recommend if you ever have the chance to try the bandeja paisa. It's this absolutely amazing, huge dish with like beans, blood sausage, blood sausage, all kinds of meat like pork, beef, rice. It's huge.
In food, we have here in Medellin the typical food. It's called bandeja paisa.
Do Colombians think about the US? And to answer shortly, I think that we view the US as a place where you can go and fulfill your dreams and be part of the American dream. But also, we view Americans as naive and innocent. Obviously, not all of them, but that's one of the stereotypes. And I think that we also view the US as a country that has to be present in every single global affair. Like everything has to do with the US, every conflict, everything, they have to be present. And I think that's my opinion on the question.
It depends on the generation you're talking about. Since I consider myself still pretty young, I see the US not as, I mean, earlier generations probably saw it as this land of opportunity. People left to find like refuge. People wanted to change their life and start over, and that's why they see, or at least they saw the US as this great, huge, like, new place to start fresh, right? Like I said. But now I feel like, especially because I'm not the most what's the word? My lifestyle in Colombia is not a very common one, in the sense that I go to a bilingual school. That's not the case for everyone. My social circles are a lot different than many kids my age. So I can't really speak for everyone, but I don't see the US as that much, as this big, huge, wonderful thing as maybe my parents or grandparents did. And that's not like a bad thing. I still think it's a great country. It's just, it has a lot of things that maybe Colombians try to not copy per se, but be more like them in terms of advancing infrastructure. We don't have a metro. We don't have very coordinated bus routes or whatever, but I feel like it's a good guidance point for some things. It's just not as huge to me as it was before, and that's just my perspective, clearly.
And the views that Colombia has in America, I think they've changed radically in the past few years. I remember when I was younger, when Barack Obama was president, that we had a pretty solid view of America, because we found it progressive, we found it leading the world. And it's sad to say that we kind of lost that and became a little bit afraid of America. Whole xenophobia things that we could see in the country happening. But I guess now we're happy to have them back on track, I guess, at least for us, at least for me. But yeah, I think we made fun of America, but now we're happy to see it back.
How does Colombia see the US? We actually see the US as a really big partner in commercial trading. It's one of our main countries that we export our delicacies, and we love to visit the US in our vacations, like going to Miami, New York, LA, and other beautiful cities.
I think that's a very difficult question. I think definitely from like an economic and like a political standpoint, a lot of people tend to look up to America and just, it's like world power, and it's like you always see it as like that big country and that's done all this stuff, and that's obviously superior. But I think when it comes to culture within Colombia, a lot of people were very aware that, we have a sense of culture, and I feel like we look at America and there doesn't seem to feel like there's a sense of culture there, mainly because there are so many cultures within the country, but you don't really know how to define like an American culture, if that makes any sense. So I think sometimes we can look at it and feel like it's a little bit weird or like a little bit just, yeah, like different.
How does Colombia view the US? I think that it's definitely a very weird love-hate relationship, because we definitely, like every other country, I'm sure, in the world, view the United States as like the powerhouse. You know, the world superpower hegemony is a really real thing. I mean, I at least was raised with the ideal that, you know, I had to go to school, college in the States, I had to learn how to speak English, etc. But then we also, especially as individuals grow older and as time goes by, especially with, you know, the political climate that still lingers, we've realized that just as every other country, even ours, the United States is flawed. And it's really sad to see that that prestige that we've given the United States for so long is still shared among people in the United States sometimes, in a way that makes other countries and people from other countries seem like subordinate.
Views America, and I think that Colombia views America as an ideal place where the restaurants are better, education is better, products are better, a lot of things are better, and as a place where a lot of people immigrate there to get a better life, and most people are really turned down when they find out that this is not necessarily the case always, because America is not necessarily a perfect place, like it has its imperfections. And I think that this is a common misconception of America that Colombians have, and sadly the Colombian dream is to get out of Colombia, and like one of my hopes in the future is that this can stop, and that people actually don't want to leave Colombia and can think of the Colombian dream as staying in Colombia and living here, because there are a lot of people that see America as a place where they can escape to, and I hope that in the near future this is not the case.
What's a Colombian perspective of the USA? Well, personally, I'm a little bit biased. I had the privilege of being born in the States. I'm a dual citizen, but I've lived all my life in Colombia. My family is 100% Colombian. And I just happen to be in the States currently, and I love the States. So much so I want to serve for its army.
So for the similarities and differences between Colombia and Latin America, we speak the same language. In our gastronomy, I believe we have really similar dishes with similar flavors. But I think one great thing about Colombia is that it has a connection with two oceans, Pacific and Atlantic, which has historically helped us, our country, to improve the connections worldwide. And Colombia has a really big diversity in its climate, its fauna and flora, its people around the country, and the landscapes vary so much. You can see mountains, lakes, beaches, and still be in the same country.
Similarities or differences with other Latin American countries? Well, definitely when it comes to food, we love our beans and rice, our plantain, but also in Colombia, every sector, every region has very distinct foods, flavors, and sounds. So if you go to Medellin, you're gonna have certain types of food, certain types of music. If you go to the coast, you're gonna have something completely different, and so on and so forth for the rest.
I don't think they really differ. I think they have more similarities. So from Latin America, almost every country has Spanish as its maiden language. So that's a very huge similarity. I think the culture also it's similar, and the misconceptions and
So we share some traits with Latin American countries, especially the Hispanic ones in which we speak Spanish, and I'd say that we have similar cultural traits in which we're very enthusiastic, happy people. We're very into our own unique cultures, into our own cultural traits such as our food, our music. but I think there's so many differences that get like overshadowed most of the time. So I'd say Latin America is divided into regions that maybe are more common, more similar. I'd say maybe Colombia, you can group it with Venezuela, with Ecuador, with Peru, and maybe even with Panama, and you'd have a similar like combination of regions, but then of cultural traits. But then you could also like group together the southern part of South America, and then Central America can be grouped more together. And I think that's more accurate or a more accurate representation of who we are.
I think that's similar to other Latin American countries. We have a very family-focused culture, and also, sadly, we have governments that are really deeply rooted patriarchal systems, and I hope that the feminist movement really works with that.
Countries, as I said, I live in the U.S., so I think there's a lot of I've been exposed to a lot of like other Latin American countries in school or just in general, and I think there's like a sense of familiarity within us. I obviously think our cultures might be different, but I think we kind of share the same values, same societal structures, same kind of upbringings in a sense. Obviously, all things are different, but I just think there is a sense of like a relationship between Latinos. We may not have all the shared experiences, but I think some of the values and some of the traditions and just like some of the cultural things that we grew up with can kind of transfer over between our countries. And I don't know, I always feel like a sense of like when I see another Latino, like I feel like even if they're from a different country, like I always feel like a sense of family there. So
Family, so yeah, of course, one of the most important things back home is family. It's just everything. So we're very united from like the moment we're young to like old age. The extended family is a huge thing. So you would end up doing gatherings almost like weekly. It's very normal to just with all your family, so all the cousins, all the aunts.
Is what am I most proud about being Colombia or about my country? And I don't know, I feel like I love my country, so this is a really hard question to put like here in a video, but there's a lot of things that make me love my country and be proud of being Colombian. And first it is being like here you feel like you belong somewhere and people try to make you belong. It is a very vibrant culture, it's really colorful. People are constantly trying to make you feel welcome. So I think that is really pretty. Also, music and food are like something I'm very passionate about, and I don't know, we're taught about these things since we're like really small, so those are things that really make me proud.
One more aspect of our culture that's very important to note, it's our how we're like Catholic and Christian heritage has impregnated our culture, our way of speaking. We have so many slangs that have to do with our Christian backgrounds. So I think religion also plays a big cultural part of Colombia and of Colombian families in general.
Most proud of is like our ethic and how much like power we hold in ourselves and how confident we are.
we have such a rich culture that really just forms so many incredible people. I live in New York now. I go to school here, and a couple of days ago I was at a mall, and the piece of art that's notorious for that mall is two sculptures by Fernando Botero, and I remember seeing that, and it's just like, this is New York, and like to think that an artist that's a huge artist, but like that his work is being praised here is I just feel so good, and to know we have a Nobel Peace for literature with Gabriel Garcia Marquez. There's just so many people that have done so much and that are, so artistic, so talented, so smart. And I just think that we have so many stories and so many skills and things to share with the world that are so outside of the narrative that we're often confined to. So I'm just proud that we have a lot to share for ourselves and to give and contribute to.
I love the fruit. The variety of fruit here is so great, and it varies from like region to region, which is great. But we're on the equator, so there are no seasons, right? It's not like things change much throughout the year, except for like really rainy times or really windy like seasons. I think right now we're in the rainy season, which is kind of like our winter, but other than that, it's pretty much this weather all the time.
So, thank you guys for listening. Have a good day.
Hope that helps.
I don't know. I hope someday you get to come to Colombia because it's a really pretty country to get to know. Bye.
I love my country. I love having been born here. I love having Colombian friends, a Colombian past, and I love learning about it more each day. Especially these past few days that and I use Spanish every once in a while. My English, it's stronger than I am. And these past few days that I've been like getting to know other little towns that I had never even heard of before. I've been to Jerico, Jardín, Cauca Viejo, and they're all so different, but all so wonderful. So I feel like that's also a lesson for all you out there that probably don't know enough about your own country. So yeah, take advantage of that. Anyway, this is me logging out. Bye, thanks for the opportunity. I hope it's okay.
That's all. I hope you liked this video, and I hope you treat Miss Doyle well. Okay, bye.